What's his face is?
We operate on county time now. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Our first item on the agenda, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors hereby enters into closed meeting for the purpose of discussing the following under Section 2.23711, Paragraph 7, consultation with legal counsel and briefings from staff, members, or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation where such consultation or briefing in open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body, and consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by the public body regarding specific legal matters requiring provision of legal advice by such counsel. The only item we have on there is the Mountain Valley Pipeline. Do I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Ms. Purvis?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Chair Brown?
Aye.
6 ayes.
We're in closed meeting.
Wow, Marty's thing looks like it's heavy. It's like backpack or whatever that thing is.
Need a motion to go out of closed meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to go out of closed meeting. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Ms. Purvis?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Chair Brown?
Aye.
6 ayes.
Certification of closed meeting. Whereas the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Whereas Section 2.23711 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Supervisors of Montgomery County, Virginia, hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which this certification resolution applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion conveying the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the board. Motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Ms. Purvis?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Chair Brown?
Aye.
6 ayes.
The next item on the next two items on our agenda. One is our invocation. This is when the board pauses for a minute to observe a moment of silence to reflect on the business at hand. And the other item is our pledge that we will be led by our county administrator, Mr. Meadows.
Let us pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much.
Next item on our agenda is presentation, recognitions, and awards. And our first item is the Golden Halo Award. Montgomery County Sheriff Investigator Eric Snow was the recipient of the 2014 Montgomery Golden Halo Award in the law enforcement category from the Children's Trust of Roanoke Valley Organizations. The Golden Halo Award were created in 2008 to recognize and honor outstanding contributions to the cause of child abuse prevention, intervention, and advocacy in the Roanoke Valley. Investigator Snow has demonstrated a clear and prolonged commitment to the cause of child abuse prevention, intervention, and advocacy and has shown a consistent high degree of service to his profession. I think we ought to go down and congratulate him and take a
I would
picture with him.
say.
I guess it's pretty good. We get this close to the law without getting arrested. Supervisor Gabriel for the Roanoke County has death in his family, and he might also. But can you give us all like this? Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you. And you can stay for the rest of the meeting if you want.
Absolutely. It's done by 7:30. Good luck.
You gotta do the routine.
Roaching Club.
Hey, we got right. It's a good thing Mary's here to help me, because I'm sort of lost. My next presentation would be for the Mount Tabor Royalton Club on its 50th anniversary. And I guess you representing the Royalton? Who's representing? Huh? All of you all? Well, all of you come up here. We got plenty of room. Mount Tabor Royalton Club was chartered on July 16, 1965. Mount Tabor Royalton Club proudly celebrates 50 years of dedicated service to the Blacksburg and Montgomery County communities. Well, congratulations on your half of 100, half of a century, 5 decades. How do you call it? It's been a long time. Come on around here so you can get a picture with us back here.
Tall guy goes in the back.
Yeah, put the tall guy in the back.
Make sure I got it right side up. You want to get up here? You get up here with this one. You get up here. Somebody throw rocks at you, make you a member of the board.
I was a little bit ignorant here.
Okay. And when's the next fish fry?
Bless you.
This Saturday. Fish fry at Mount Tabor. 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock Saturday. 5 o'clock Saturday.
And you'll each find invitations by your seats. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank y'all very much.
Thank
How you
you.
doing, my fellow? How you doing, man?
I'm good, and you?
Good, good.
Steve.
Good to see you.
The next one is David Clark. You want to get in? Y'all can stay out and greet. Greet.
We can stay down there for David.
Look, Dave, want to go for that one?
Yeah, no.
Got to get the fish fry on my calendar.
Yeah, I tell you what, fish fry, and you think about it, if you come hungry, all you can eat for $8. I mean, look like some of those people sitting back in the audience could put y'all out of business.
Yeah. It's good too. Right.
You're fine.
VDOT.
Well, we do have a little fun here, and this was the fun part of a meeting. And then they said we have one more presentation, but that's the one's going to be given to us by Mr. David Clark from the Residency Administrator will provide us an update on road issues and projects in Montgomery County. And he has Big Bang Road on there. Welcome, David. Howdy.
Got a good looking spring tile on there this evening.
It's quite the downpour.
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Much
Yes,
better.
there we go.
We don't mess it up, but we don't have to
As
fix
far
it.
as an update on sort of the general things that we've been working on, just over the last month or so is, coming out of winter and into the spring, the pothole season and as well as mowing and brush cutting. So we've been patching ahead of our resurfacing schedules and cutting brush as we can. We've started some mowing, so you should see the mowers out, and then taking care of the gravel roads as we can in between that. As far as some of the projects that we've been working on, we've got a lot going on actually in Montgomery County right now with projects. We just finished up I believe this was a 6-year plan project, a section of Mount Pleasant Road that goes from the bridge to split rail. That's complete. We got a few little things to sort of punch list items, cleanup items to still do in there, but for the most part that's finished. We are getting ready to do a revenue sharing project here in the next month or so on Brush Creek Road. That's another unpaved road project that's being funded through half of the county's money. That's a revenue sharing project. There's a bridge down the Fayette on Cannery Road that's almost completed. That's replacing the truss bridge that goes up from 626 across the river, across the Roanoke River. Those are the beams are in it. They're concrete box beams that will be that are already placed. We grout in between the box beams, and there's going to be an asphalt surface, and that replaces that very pretty, but almost 100-year-old truss bridge that's there right now. So that's almost done. Near that project, Route 603 North Fork Road, that goes between Route 11 and 81 at exit 128. It's still under progress. That's going to be a long project. As you know, we closed that in April, middle of April, and that should be closed for almost a year as they do a lot of blasting and hauling of rock down through there. So that's going to take quite a while to finish that. Research Center Drive is a project that was funded out of our primary system project that's sort of doing some improvements at the North Main interchange in Blacksburg where you get off and are on South Main or trying to get to the Corporate Research Center. There's that sort of a right, a left and a right that you take to get on through there. And with the signal there, it was causing a lot of backups in the morning. We built a ramp that sort of facilitates that whole movement through there. And I think already we've seen a lot of reduction in the delays at that signal. So that's a good project. And then the real big one in the county right now is just starting, and they're going to be moving dirt here pretty soon. You may have seen some activity in surveying and drilling and things out there. Is that the Southgate Drive interchange at 460 to remove the signal at Southgate Drive and the entrance into Virginia Tech, as well as the tie into the Corporate Research Center. Because going along with that is the expansion of the runway, which is being funded completely differently, not out of highway money, but the Virginia Tech Airport is expanding its runway. And so the connection on Research Center Drive that used to go from, say, the tennis courts straight out through there, has to go around that now to accommodate the lengthened runway. And along with all that is a relocation of the Huckleberry Trail, which also goes through there. And a lot of that will follow sort of sidewalks through there, but there will be underpasses through a lot of the new part of Southgate Drive. There'll be 2 roundabouts in the project, and the interchange itself will be a diverging diamond interchange, which there are very few in the state right now. They're building one down in Roanoke right now at 581 and Valley View Mall. There's also one that's in operation just east of Charlottesville at Zion Crossroads exit. So those are some things that are going on as far as construction projects. As I mentioned before, we're doing a lot of patching on roads, getting ready for the overlay schedule. I have a copy of that schedule. I didn't bring a lot of them. What I'll do is I can email this. It's just in this simple spreadsheet form, and I'll email that to Craig, and he can distribute it. Sort of the highlights of that right now are, we've got a plant mix schedule, which is your typical asphalt, like on a new road, hot mix asphalt. We usually put about 1.5 inch overlay on roads. Probably the biggest, we're doing sections here and there around the county on the secondary route. Probably the biggest overall section is about 3.25 miles of Route 787 Indian Valley Road. That's when it goes from 693, so it's in the Childress area, and goes down towards Floyd County. We're doing 3 miles of that starting at 693 and going south. Overall, we got some surface treatment. That's a chip seal or tar and gravel, which is the surface on most secondary roads. We got about 14 miles of that around the county. 3 miles of which is on Craigs Creek Road. Those are some of the larger sections. 2 miles of Lick Run is on there. 2 miles of Norris Run. There are almost 2 miles of Nolly Road is on there as well. And again, I'll have all this in a spreadsheet that you can look at. Another type of resurfacing that we do, it's more of a preventive maintenance program, is the slurry seal. You've seen it before. There's 2 types. There's a regular slurry seal on lower volume roads, a lot of them in subdivisions. There's also a latex modified slurry. If you've seen, we've had some issues with that placement in Floyd County on 221. It is used on higher volumes, higher speed roads because it doesn't wear off. We've used it here in Montgomery County before. We've used it on 460 Business. We used it on 81 before. We don't have any of that in particular product going down in Montgomery County this year, but we do have some slurry seal. And it acts, as the name says, as a seal to seal up cracks and give some more life to the pavement. We've probably got about 3.5 miles of slurry seal throughout the county. Trying to look at the probably the biggest, highest profile is we're going to be doing a lot of the roads in Cedar Orchard. That's a subdivision up near Blacksburg, and that was built, and it's starting to show its age. And so we've done a lot of patching up there, and we've put this seal on it. We should get a lot more life out of that pavement. I believe that's all I have as far as an update. I know the Big Vein Road is on there. I don't know if there's any questions about that. If you want me to just sort of explain where our thinking on Big Vein Road issue is. How would you like me to proceed on that?
Take a Big Vein and then we could ask some questions after.
Right.
As you know, Big Vein Road has been it's a private road. It comes off of McCoy Road. And it's been on and off the county's plan for a rural addition for several years. A rural addition is the process by which we can take a private road and bring it into the state system of maintained roads. They're typically gravel roads, and we will use a portion of the county's allocation for secondary roads and build it up to current standards and bring it into the system. It's been a while since we've done one in Montgomery County, or I've done one anywhere. I believe Rife Street was the last one we did, which is down the Shawsville area. That was brought in as a rural addition. There's several ways that a road can be brought into the state system, and it's the county's, by law, the county has jurisdiction over additions and deletions from the secondary system. That's just the way the state has been run. In fact, the counties ran the secondary system up until 1932, and VDOT took them over. And some of that still remains. Some of that power still remains within the county. Whenever there's a new subdivision, as you all probably know, the county has to pass a resolution accepting that subdivision into the state system of highways. Same is true for roads that come in not under a subdivision or a brand new road. These are old roads that can come in under this rural addition program. but it has to be brought up to current standards. And one of the standards that has to meet is sight distance at its intersecting road, and that's been our problem on Big Bane for a while. There are several ways around that. You can cut down the bank that's the offending portion of the sight distance problem. There's Mr. Goldstein that lives on the road, has been in contact with the county as well as with us, asking some very good questions about what could be done if the county chose to pursue this as a rural addition. And getting sight distance has been the main issue, and it's always the issue. We've done rural additions before. The person that lives on the corner of the private road with part of half their property on the main road, which is already a state road, has generally the least to gain in these things. We're seeing the same thing in Giles County, and often they don't want to give up any of their property because they already have access to a state road. So this is not really unusual. And so while we've had a hard time getting any permission to get off of our right-of-way to cut down a bank or trees or whatever, there are other ways around it. And Mr. Goldstein has suggested perhaps taking out the curb, moving the road in the opposite direction, or maybe even being able to do it within the right-of-way. That will require some amount of work as far as survey and a bit of preliminary design. And in my discussions with Mr. Goldstein, or Chris Price, who handles these in my office, has said, yes, these are possible, but it's the county's decision on how to spend their secondary construction money, and B, whether they want to pursue Big Bane as a rural addition. So all my proposal or presentation to the county on Big Bane Road is that it is up to the county to decide how to proceed. We could do some survey. It would cost some money out of your secondary construction budget. It wouldn't be a lot, but it would be something that we would have to schedule and do and charge to that account. And if that is done, we could then see what something like that would cost. What would a project cost to either move the road or take out the curb or do whatever. It is not generally, I don't know about any time, that the county has decided to pursue any kind of condemnation of property for a project, whether it be an unpaved road or like that. If we can get donated right of way, we do it. If we can't, then that tends to stop the project, because we don't want to have to forcibly take someone's property. So, or the county has chosen not to do that. So what we would be looking at is what could we do within the right-of-way, or within what we could get as donated right-of-way, to change that curve such that it would accommodate sight distance for Big Bane Road. So that's kind of a long explanation, but I think if you don't understand how I phrase that, what I'm saying is that we can do the study, and at that point we could have maybe an estimate or preliminary design of what it would take.
You're talking about on McCoy Road, moving it one way, right or left, to extend the sight distance.
Yes.
And I guess the sight distance, looking back toward Blacksburg,
Yes.
is the most hazardous. And I mean, there's talk, they said it's like about 50 feet of right of way in there or something. I don't know how much it is, but
We probably have 40 to 50 feet, depending on when the road was built. Obviously, that road has probably been rebuilt a couple times over the last, 100 years or 75 years. You can see sort of evidence of old road through there where it used to be very narrow and curvy, and old bridges where new bridges are now. So generally when we bought or obtained right-of-way for a project like that, for that we usually bought right-of-way, we got 40 feet, sometimes 50. I'd be surprised if it was 50, but depending on how old the road is. Typically we would get 40 feet.
so it would be up to this board to decide whether you guys should go on and do this
Whether
study.
we want to proceed in sort of an investigative, preliminary engineering type of thing. I mean, McCoy Road is a very heavily traveled road.
I think we should.
And you just don't shift it over and pave on top of a little dirt. You have to build the road up. It's going to take a lot of traffic, daily traffic, sometimes perhaps heavy traffic. So you're going to need a good road bed. It'll be a full reconstruction of a curve, and the curve would also have to meet current standards for geometrics to tie in. You're taking a section, moving it, so you got to tie into the current section on either end. So, not impossible. I mean, we can look at and then see what it would take. But first step is some survey and some preliminary design.
Well, I'll say this. Very, very familiar with the intersection there, and I'm surprised somebody hadn't got killed. Especially if you pull a trolley somewhere like it, you come out and you look, and some of the students going down to the river are really moving kind of fast. And I think if it could be studied somewhere where the on McCoy Road could be shifted one way or the right to improve that sight distance, would really improve the quality of life of people who live there. Whatever y'all think, if you got questions or whatever.
What would the study cost, do you think?
It would. My guess is it's a few $1,000s, less than $5 perhaps. So I wouldn't think more than $5. We have it in your standard section.
Yeah, we got consensus too.
Thumbs up on that?
Yeah, we got thumbs up
Another thing
on
that
that.
has been mentioned is a speed study. We can also do a speed study. That would be no cost to the county. It's currently posted at 45. I doubt a speed study is going to show that a recommendation for lowering it much at all. One of the things they look at is accidents balanced with the current speed. They take a speed sampling, and they look at the speed at which 85% of the traffic is traveling at or lower. And that's generally what they like to set the speed limit at, because people are going to drive what they feel is comfortable with the road. That gets a lot of local traffic. So when you're taking a large speed sample and you're sampling a lot of local traffic, you'll get some people who are unfamiliar with it. But they like to set the speed at what most people are traveling at or lower. They know 15% are going to go probably faster than they should, or faster than the conditions would allow. But I would be surprised if a study came back that recommended lowering it much more than it is right now at 45, maybe 40. I don't know. I doubt a 35. But that's just me speculating. We can always do the study to see what they would recommend.
Makes sense.
Okay.
I have some questions, not
Yeah.
the
Okay.
Big Bang.
And I do too.
I think we're probably done with that,
Okay.
the big bang. And so,
A couple of things. One, I was going to ask you about Ellett Road coming up towards Cambria and some of the paving that's done. Where are you at as far as the repaving process? I wasn't able to get out there as I wanted to, but
It's rough. One of the problems we're having a problem with there is some of the slope that's below that. And we've been looking at doing some work on that slope, or seeing, at least monitoring to see, because we were getting some cracks that were showing it sinking a little bit. Right now it's not on the schedule for, I don't believe it's on our schedule for an overlay. We would have to do it simply with our own forces, our own crews to patch and keep it patched until we try to get it maybe on next year's schedule.
I've got a couple of folks who have contacted me about that, and the patches have come up, I guess probably because there's some sinking and some shifting ground. But if you could get out there, that would be great. The other thing, you mentioned the speed study, and we got an email in regards to Route 8, Todd's Way, about where the golf course is and the subdivision, and there's a lot more traffic right now. The golf course is really picking up. Would it be possible to do a speed study to evaluate the speed? I think it's 55 right there in front of the golf course.
Yeah, I think it doesn't drop to 35 till you just past it.
And I was thinking maybe a 45 even, to look at maybe dropping it down a little bit sooner. You also have the Auburn Baptist Church, and it's real close to there as far as that speed zone. So if we could get a speed study out there, I would greatly appreciate it. those are my two issues.
Okay.
Okay.
One. You mentioned that you were going to put some roads in, or you're going to work on Cedar Orchard.
Yes.
Are you going to make that road wider so that you can, those people that coming out of the Cedar Orchard, that lady, remember, she's asked 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, no, we don't have anything for widening, but like beyond Cedar Orchard where it goes down to that little turnaround.
Right.
No, there's no project to widen it. This is just a sort of an overlay. It's a slurry. It's not really an overlay. It's just a seal on the roads that are within.
But
Once you turn,
You can't do anything to the, what am I talking, the sides of the road to
No.
make it?
not without a project, but we can always set up a project on a 6-year plan to widen the road. But the road's probably that narrow because probably you don't have very much right of way going towards the end of that.
Well, I'm sure you don't, but I haven't heard from those people recently, but I know that it presents a problem for a lot of the older citizens there because it does get foggy and they can't really negotiate it so much. So,
I'll check and see what the right of way is on that.
all right, that would be great
Yeah.
if you would. Thank you.
Questions?
I just got a couple.
Okay.
We're in on Fairview, the low water bridge. Are we getting any closer to doing something with that?
We're keeping an eye on it. I don't know when they have it scheduled. It's right now. It's. I mean, it's not in the greatest shape, but it's not. It's something that we're watching. I don't know that they have it necessarily scheduled immediately or anything.
I know you said you want to put bigger drainage up under.
Yeah. But I'll see if they, when they're getting closer to it, some kind of a project on it.
All right, thank you. And on Meadow Creek, have you done any? We talked about it before about trying to get 18-wheelers off of that road.
Yeah, if we can, do you want to, if we completely prohibit it, that requires a public hearing that the board would hold. But we can look at a not recommended sign.
No.
Yeah, we just did one on 603 North Fork Road.
Okay. Yeah, we talked about it a couple of months ago. I was just wondering where we was at on that.
Okay, I'll see.
And one more thing, on Union Valley Road, when you turn off Route 8, probably a half a mile, there's a little steep hill there. And you had, right before you get to the hill, there's a 25-mile-an-hour sign. Someone was wondering if we could take that 25-mile-an-hour sign and move it on top of the hill. Because you have blind driveways when they're backing out. Maybe they would help slow some of them down.
We'd have to do a study. When they put it there, it must have been done as part of a study. It's not just a matter of picking up the sign and moving it, and we're required to do a study before we can establish the speed limit on there.
Can we do that?
Yeah, I'll see. Sometimes based on like a dense population, they can make adjustments to it, but I'll take a look. But it's on Union Valley Road?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Green.
Yeah, I just got one thing, and that has to do with over at Toronto, there where the interstate is coming off, and we're working on that all the way. We still have a lot of big trucks. I think we put some signage up. I was told I couldn't to check. But they're still wanting to go that way with trucks that just can't make it that way. You know?
Yeah, I know.
And
I can't drive it for them though.
if there's anything else you can think of, extra signs or anything, something says this will not get you anywhere. I don't, whatever you got.
Okay.
If you can put another one or two out there, it might help.
I guess that's all the questions on my left and all the questions on my right. Thank you, David, for coming and sharing those remarks with us. And,
Thank you all.
Thank you.
We're always glad to see you. Next item is public hearings. My first one is Subject A, the following public hearing was advertised pursuant to the law in the New River Valley section of the Roanoke Times on May 24th, 2015 and May 31, 2015. Ordinance amending Chapter 8, Article 3, Division 3, and ordinance amending Chapter 8 entitled Planning and Development of the Code of the County of Montgomery, Virginia, Article 3, by establishing Division 3 entitled Illicit Discharge by adding sections 8-90 through 8-94, making it unlawful to discharge pollutants into the county's MS4 regulated stormwater collection system.
Mr. Chair, I was just going to say that you may recall that several weeks ago, Mr. Burton made a presentation to the board about the proposed ordinance that was being required as part of the county's move into a MS4 jurisdiction with regard to stormwater. We reviewed that ordinance with the board that evening, and this is just an opportunity this evening if the public has any comments regarding that proposed ordinance.
If it's anyone, no one has signed up to speak, but if it's anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this ordinance, amending Chapter 8, Article 3, Division 3, they can do so at this time. They need to come to the podium and state the name and address, and they have 5 minutes to address the board. Seeing no one coming forward, I'm going to close the public hearing and move on. Following public hearing was advertised pursuant to law in the New River Valley section of Roanoke Times on May 31, 2015. Disposal of county property. The former Prices Fork Elementary School property located at 4237 Prices Fork Road, Blacksburg, containing 8.3285 acres, tax parcel number 52A50, Prices Fork Magisterial District, parcel ID 070688.
The only thing I need to add is, as you know, under state law, any county is conveying any property, you're required to hold a public hearing. This property's been under contract for some time. We finally reached the point where we're ready to close. I believe the closing is set for June 17th. It'll be the property will be subdivided at that point, the front portion, and then the back portion will be 5 acres. The front portion will be developing right away, with, if you remember, into the senior living and maybe some other uses within that building. And then probably once he's done with that, then he'll move to the back, which could take a couple years, where he'll be developing a small density residential development. So it's good news. We have a really good partnership with the purchaser, and we look forward to him starting on the process as soon as we close on the 17th.
Okay, we'll open it up to public comment. Is anyone in the audience who'd like to comment on the former Prices Fork Elementary School property been disposed of? They can do so at this time. Seeing no one coming forward, we'll close that public hearing. We'll move on further. The former Montgomery County School Board Administration Building property located at 200 Junction Street, Christiansburg, Virginia, containing approximately 1.031 acres, tax parcels number 527-12, 789, 527-12, 7A, 527-12, 8A, in the Shawsville Magisterial District, parcel ID 070677031579 and 200363.
Mr. Chair, same reason this is on. If you remember, this was a surplus property of the school board that was deeded over to the county. Used to have the school board administration building before they moved into this building. Then the board authorized the administrator to go ahead and auction off that property as is, and that's what was done. I believe $150,000 was the high bid. 155 was the high bid, and so hopefully we'll be closing on this property by the end of this month. And so, like I said, it's sold as is.
Well, thank you, and we will open this up for public comment. Anyone who'd like to comment on the former Montgomery County School Board Administration building property been disposed of, please come forward, and you have 5 minutes to address the board. Seeing no one coming forward, we'll close the public hearing and we'll move on. The next item on our agenda is public address. And I have Mr. Robert Goldstein signed up to address the board on Big Vein Road. And come state your name and address, and you have 5 minutes, and address all your comments to the board.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Robert Goldstein. I live on Big Vein Road in Montgomery County. And I just want to say on behalf of the many citizens of Montgomery County who travel either direction on McCoy Road where it intersects Big Vein Road, we appreciate that VDOT and Montgomery County are reviewing options that we hope will result in a safe line of sight at that hazardous intersection. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Is there anyone else who didn't have an opportunity to sign up who would like to address the board on any matter having to do with county business? Seeing no one coming forward, we will close the public address session. We have addendum?
No, sir. No
addendum, so we can move on to a consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion of any items on it?
I'd like to talk about, excuse me, one thing. The burn building.
Burn building, okay.
Do you want us to pull that off on the regular agenda? Would that?
We can take it off and talk about it. We can approve the rest of it except taking that item off.
Yeah, we can pull that off. That's okay.
Yeah. So,
Yes, fine.
you make
I just
motion.
have a couple of questions.
Okay, well,
That's all.
I'm happy.
Don't try to
Pull it off.
This is all right.
Whatever he wants to do.
Whatever you want to do. You can pull it out, or we can try to answer questions, or what. We can pull it off. Let's pull it off. Okay. We have a motion and a second for everything on the consent agenda except the burn building. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Chair Brown?
Aye.
6 ayes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now, we want to talk about the burn building? Or do we want to?
Well, we can pull that down under new business.
We can put it under new business.
We'll
Okay.
bring that up as first item under new business.
Okay, let me see where I'm at. Okay. Oh, work session.
So moved.
Okay. That was ready. Be it resolved, the Board of Supervisors hereby enters into work session for the purpose of discussing the following: Mountain Valley Pipeline. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Chair Brown?
Aye.
6 ayes.
We're in work session.
Well, and I was one of the ones who asked to put this in a work session. I also asked Marty to prepare a resolution for us to consider. I would ask that we publicize that in the agenda and that we have a meeting, a special meeting on the 15th, next Monday, to talk about what actions we might want to take. I would also ask if we could get the county attorney to make a presentation to us, to give us and our citizens. We've already had a legal update, but to give our citizens a legal update as well. The reason for that resolution, in my mind, I don't, and I've repeatedly said, I'm not in favor of this pipeline going through Montgomery County. I see no economic benefit to us, and it's our job, and not even to any of our neighbors. But I would like to at least talk about this resolution. I'd like to hear what some of our citizens have to say about the resolution, and then take whatever steps before the
16th.
The 16th, when the time for comment closes out. I know that I'm not a big person for having meetings for meeting's sake, but I do think it's an important issue that's going to affect our county for many years to come. And so I would ask us that when we come out of work session, if you would consider it. I'm not asking for anybody to vote in favor of it, the resolution. I know we've only had it since Friday, but it would give, and also I would ask that Ruth make sure that we get some of the folks for Preserve, the NRB, and Montgomery County, and make sure that they're aware that we're going to be taking it up next week.
How do you propose citizens get their comments back to this board?
Well, one, for me, I would like for us to have an opportunity for the public to address us. I know that may take up some time. I know that Mary and Annette are going to have a long day, but they're going to be down in Richmond, and we'll be driving all the way back to be back here. But I do think it's important for us because in many ways, we're the only people that are listening to our citizens. It seems like that we don't have, there's no one else that our citizens can go to other than us. And so I'll also, by getting it out sooner, maybe perhaps tomorrow out on the website with our agenda and a copy of the resolution, they can also send us emails. They don't have to be here in person. I understand what that resolution represents is pretty controversial. There's some really good reasons to be opposed to fracking. I think you just have to look out at Oklahoma and see some of the issues that they're having to have some serious environmental concerns. But when you look at how many pipelines have been stopped, I haven't heard of any.
I haven't heard of any.
And so that means that how can we protect some of our citizens? And that's what I'm looking at with the resolution as to, we may not be able to stop the pipeline. We may be able to take certain actions, but perhaps we can lessen the impact on our citizens. And so I know that we might be here a while on next week on Monday. But I think it's important for us to listen to what our citizens have to say, even if it's something I don't agree with.
Other comments?
Well, I think it's worthwhile to put the resolution on simply from the point of view that we need to look at it, discuss it, give our citizens an opportunity to discuss it. We know that we're facing an uphill battle with regard to the pipeline, and it does not hurt us to be able to discuss that pipeline in the form of a resolution, whether we agree with it or not. I mean, this is not a vote, this is a vote to put it on the agenda and to have our citizens be aware of it.
And to get into the specifics of the resolution for those who are watching one, to state specifically that we do not support this pipeline going through Montgomery County.
Right.
But if FERC deems that the economic benefits to the nation outweigh the environmental impacts to our county, the negative impacts financially to our county, and basically to our culture, if those are outweighed by the benefits to the nation, then looking at this, and that means that pipeline's coming through under those circumstances, to look at the Route 110, which runs primarily through Craig County, but then runs through a portion of Montgomery County down around the Elliston, Lafayette area. And if FERC deems that route not be the appropriate route either, then that 93, which is the route that goes up towards the top of Brush Mountain, but then goes around Preston Forest, away from the Brush Mountain Estates and some of the more populated areas of Montgomery County. When we're talking about the 110, I'm not being a NIMBY, but when you look at the population of Craig County and where that pipeline might be going through, it is not as great as the population where that pipeline will be going through in Montgomery County. So I'm weighing that, and I'm not just saying not in my backyard, I'm looking at how we can affect the fewest amount of people if something does go wrong. But also, we're taking people's land. We're taking people's land that a lot of them have their dream houses, whether it be in Elliston or on Brush Mountain. And if we can limit the amount of landowners who lose their land or have a large pipeline through it, in my mind, that's an important step. And at the same time, I know that there may be board members who say, look, I think this pipeline is a bad idea, and Chris, I think I disagree strongly with you about we should just simply take a stand and say no. And the environmental outweigh any benefits to our country even, that this pipeline. We'll agree to disagree, but I won't criticize you for taking that stance.
Right. And I think it's also important for our attorney to give us some information of what is legally possible and what the whole process is. I think a lot of us don't understand just exactly what we can and can't do, but there are things that we can do within the confines of the law and the pipeline.
And that's why we're relying on Marty. I get Lawyers Weekly, and I got really excited when I saw that substation ruling by the Supreme Court. And I thought, hey, that'll tie to the gas line, and just, I didn't realize the difference in the language between gas pipelines and power line substations. And I was thinking about the compressor station that we might be able to. And I think a lot of our citizens are confused. There's so many misleading things out on the internet that say, well, we can just pass a resolution and we can stop it, or we can just simply change the zoning and we can stop it. And perhaps having Marty he's already given us a legal analysis, but having our citizens be able to hear what Marty has to say, I think would be very helpful to many of them.
Good.
Has anybody got a count on how many people there are on Craig Mountain?
What?
Over on
Brush Mountain.
Brush Mountain Road?
Can you talk into that?
I don't know how many are on Brush Mountain. I've seen, we got an email.
And I'm talking about, when I talk about people, I'm talking about how many people as compared with how close to it they are over on Craig Mountain. And I've not seen that from anybody, anywhere, at any time. And until we have that, I don't want to vote on anything saying that one should go over the other, because, that just ain't right.
Well, I've tried to look at the population of Montgomery County and break down each one of our districts. Roughly is about, there's 7 districts, there's 93,000 people in Montgomery County. So you break that down, it's a little over 13, 14, somewhere along those lines. When you look at the whole population of Craig County, some of our districts are just about the size of, one of our districts is about the size of Craig County. And so I don't mean to say that 100% of the population, but when you look at the GIS and you look through the small lots that it's going through Montgomery County, those are houses. Those are where people live. When you're talking about 1 acre, 5 acre lots, when you're looking at some of the tracts or trying to look at some of the tracts, and I'll say that you're talking about over Craig County, you're talking about 300 and 400 acres. And that's people's farms, and that's something that may have been there generations for years. But in my mind, it's affecting fewer citizens or fewer people over there. But it's a hard decision, Gary.
And I agree with that to some extent. But you may be going over and taking food out of somebody's mouth who depends on their land to eat, where the other one don't need that to eat. They've got jobs, or they've had jobs, and they're retired. I don't know. I'd like to know what's the difference.
Perhaps we can have somebody for our GIS or just general population, but that's the way I looked at it, Gary. I just looked at the population of Craig County, and then I started looking at our population and breaking down the districts, and it primarily goes through your 2 districts. Obviously, it doesn't go through mine, it doesn't go through Mary's, it doesn't go through Todd's or Bill's or Matt's. And I'm not saying what I'm proposing is 100% perfect by any means, but I'm worried that if we don't do anything, it runs right through Preston Forest, it runs right through Brush Mountain Estates. And at the same time, I'm making, I guess, the least bad choice. There's no good choices out there in my mind. This is the least bad choice. But again, I just want to put it on the agenda. We talk about it. We have a meeting next Monday night. And if you don't vote for it, I'll shake your hand and I'll understand where you're at.
And I think this is a part of what the conversation should be when we get to.
You would think so. I mean, everybody needs some representation. Some of them's got a lot, some of them got a little. But they all need the same amount for each one. You don't cut one short because you want the other one.
Well, that's true,
Or vice versa.
absolutely.
I mean, that's that's not how we are supposed to work and live and
Well, I
be.
think, yeah, and I think we've talked about that we really don't have a right to say, I want you to send it through Gray County and not our land, because that's not fair,
And I think either way it goes, it's going to come,
It's
once
gonna-
it comes off that mountain, it's going to come down to Elston.
Every route that I've
Now,
seen it
that's
comes
what I
through.
think.
Every route
So
is-
it's not me trying to hold up what's going on. It's me wanting to know how many people are we really taking land away from that use it to make our living.
And I'll say this, we're not taking land from anybody. It's
No.
the pipeline folks, and I
Well,
have
if
heard
if we volunteer for something and they were going to, you just said that if we didn't do it, that they would probably go that way. Well, if that's the case, and that's what you said, if that's the case, then we've looked at folks who, I'd love to see everybody not get it.
I agree.
You know, that's what I would rather see, but I'm not going to make their job any easier for them by going out myself and saying, I'm in favor of this one. I did that back a couple months ago, and I've lived to regret it, that I said I would take it if it comes through Craig
Sure.
County and back down to Lafayette.
Well,
But-
Gary, are you willing to have a meeting to talk about
Oh,
this?
I'll meet with you anywhere, anytime,
Well, I
anybody
met
else.
for everybody.
I'm not, I don't have any problem with meetings.
Okay.
But I just wanted to make sure we got the open book rather than the one we peek in.
I understand. And,
Well, but there's always a huge possibility that our citizens will be split.
there might-
Half one way and half another way. Half say leave it alone, the other half say your resolution's good. Where do we go as a board when 50% of the constituents are one way and 50% is the other way?
They elected us to be leaders, and sometimes leaders have to make very difficult decisions. Sometimes leaders make the wrong decision. And this resolution, I would be the first one to admit, might be the wrong decision. But it is something that I feel like it's the least bad decision. And I haven't had a single email still yet from anybody in District B has not sent me, I've not gotten a phone call, I've not gotten an email from anybody that's in my district. But at the same time, something that you said that stuck with me is that we're 7 chambers
Absolutely.
of a heart. And that when something isn't right with one of them, and I've tried to do my best to look at this and come up with the best answers. But again, Gary, if you vote one way and I vote the other, I'll shake your hand afterwards and say,
Well, I don't have a problem, I just don't know that really we all understand quite the severity of it, one way or the other. And I think there is a lot of that we're going to have to answer to.
well, it's just, I don't have a lot of confidence in this company. They haven't provided us any answers. When I went over to the Montgomery County Museum just to look to the location of the mines, there's a map on the wall. I didn't have to look very far. We've been asking about that since back in October, November. And that took me about a minute and a half to walk in there and see it. Now, these guys have got a $3.5 billion operation, and they haven't bothered to send one person over to the Montgomery County Museum to see the location of the coal mines over towards Brush Mountain.
Well, they had a map on the outside when we were at Shawsville. And I went out and I said, can somebody here show me where Elliston's at? Oh, over here, come over here and look. I wasn't anywhere close to what they said they were going to go on either one of them. Nothing in Lafayette, nothing in Elliston, nothing nowhere looked like to me for 50 miles at least. Was right there on his computer. He had it dialed up the way he wanted it to be.
And he said he didn't have
whoever,
it.
Yeah.
He said he didn't have it.
So, what do you do when people sit there and absolutely lie to you?
I'm not saying I have a lot of confidence in this company, but I am so far, and anybody who's heard any different, tell me one time where one of these pipelines has been stopped cold, and I just don't see it. And I feel like if it hasn't happened, we might be the first, and that's true. But at least, anyways, we can talk about a lot of these things on next Monday night if we agree to have a meeting.
I don't have a problem meeting on Monday night. Matter of fact, I checked my calendar while we were talking to make sure. But I think, well, I believe that we are here for our people. And if we have an idea, such as your idea, that we need to hear from our people, so to speak, their comments on the proposal, one way or the other. And so I got a thumbs up for Monday night. There's 3. Okay.
I would like to see us send out some cards, such as this, whatever kind of card, to people that we know are involved in either direction. Don't, where they can know who's doing what.
Right, and I would be happy with emails. Will get there quicker than cards and cheaper.
That's right. Well, that'd be fine.
You gotta go to
I was going to suggest, if you're thinking about next Monday, you'd be I think you'd reach more people faster through emails, and I'm sure we can probably, if we put it out to Angela Stanton's group and Pat Tracy and some of those folks.
They have listservs, I guess, that they can really get it out there.
Yeah, and I think they will as soon as we say we want
And we'll know whether they've got it out there when we see how many people come in here. We'll see whether they offer one's in.
I think before we even get home tonight, that a lot of people know that we're discussing the pipeline right now. And they picked up the phone and says, "Hey, that's what they're discussing over at because it affects so many people." Mary,
I was just going to say, you can also put it on the government access television stations, so people would be aware of it. And the other thing I was going to say is that, Chris as a board member can request to have anything put on an agenda, just like any of us can. So to make it clear, he's requesting that this be put on the agenda and that we have a meeting. So we're not voting like he said on the resolution. He's requesting that we have a meeting about it.
yes, thumbs up for the schedule the meeting at. Now we want the meeting at 7 o'clock.
Let's see 7:30 to give Annette and Mary a little more time to get back from Richmond. Would
7:30 be good?
Work better?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll say 7:30, and hopefully when we hear comments that we can get out of here at a reasonable hour.
Now, are we going to ask Marty to give us the
A little presentation.
legal, presentation for?
And I think that might be a good way to start our meeting.
Yeah, starting
because
into it,
that will resolve a lot of the questions. There will be a lot of people who are commenting saying, "We'll just pass that zoning ordinance," and then we'll have an answer from Marty saying, "I don't think you can do that."
What would happen if we invited somebody from FERC or from one of these other?
I'd say
You probably can. You can invite them. They probably wouldn't come.
They won't.
I don't think. I doubt they're seriously.
No, I think we just want to hear.
Exactly where the lines are at?
Well, we will tape it. We'll just send them a
It's
tape.
close enough to what they call in the end.
Are you talking about FERC or Mountain Valley?
Well, Mountain Valley.
Mountain Valley. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know whether
if they want to.
they don't hardly want to come back for their quarterly updates. I don't know whether they come here voluntarily or not.
I dare. Just tell them we're having it.
7:30 Monday night.
We have to come out
Okay.
and vote on that?
No,
No.
you don't, there's consensus and we'll
Yeah.
just.
We'll just go
we don't
that
need a
way.
form. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Yeah.
That's fine.
It's gonna be a long day.
And then if Mr. McMahon probably could give us some, a brief presentation, 30, I guess about 30 minutes, I guess. That's what it take.
Maybe a little less.
Yeah, and then we can lead right into comments from the public. Any other comments for work session?
Thank y'all.
Okay, need a motion to go out of work session.
Some second?
Have a motion and a second to go out of work session. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Chair Brown?
Aye.
6 ayes.
New business. First item we're going to take up so we don't forget about is burn building.
Yeah, I
New
can.
business.
Let me get back to consent agenda. I know.
Yeah. I'm trying to answer your questions.
Ready? Okay. First of all, I'd like to say how much I appreciate everybody had a hand in getting this burn building or trying to get this burn building going. I mean, they've been working on it for several years now. And one thing is, and I was talking to Craig about, I just want to make sure, you know, it's going to be for every fire and rescue in Montgomery County, plus beyond.
Right.
I would like to see, I see, you know, we got appropriation for $13,000 last time, and
That was
you
for
know,
the PSA, right?
PSA. And then, you know, they're asking for us to put it another almost $10,000 out of the Fire and Rescue Board. I'd like to see if, make sure that each locality is helping us with this burn building. I mean, like town of Christiansburg and town of Blacksburg.
I can tell you wholeheartedly. I know the town of Christiansburg is in their elbow up to their necks with the equipment. They've done a lot of work and have done more work than they thought they was going to do. And I'm sure the town of Blacksburg is in there too. I mean, from my attendance to the Fire and Rescue Commission meetings, I mean, it's something that all of them are working toward. All of them are doing something great.
So are you saying they're doing in-kind contributions? Like by providing?
Yep. Give you an example. They sent some equipment in there on a Saturday and a Sunday from the town of Christiansburg, and the workers, no charge. They worked in there for 2 solid days getting the water line run up to the burn building. Donated that. And I don't know what it would have cost the contractor to put that in, probably in the tens of thousands of dollars.
Well, like I said, you know, I just want to tell everybody how much I appreciate what they have put into it, because this will be a wonderful thing once it is up and going. It really will be.
We took it off for discussion. I guess we have to vote to approve it or something?
Yeah,
So you'll
someone
need
needs to
a
make a
motion and a second.
Motion and a second.
Motion.
Second?
Have a motion and a second to approve what was in the consent agenda. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins? Chair Brown?
Aye.
6 ayes.
Okay. New business. Subject A, amendment to the county's Vantage Care Retirement Health Savings Plan, definition of spouse.
Mr. Chair, as we stated in the justification on this item, and also have some information under tab D, this is to make sure that our plan, the health savings plan that we offer through the county, which is ultimately part of ICMA manages the plan, is to make sure that this plan complies with federal law, the Defense of Marriage Act, which relates to the definition of spouse. We just have to include that as an amendment to make sure it's part of our plan as well.
Motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Would the clerk please call a roll?
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Chair Brown?
Aye.
6 ayes.
Subject B, resolution of recognition, Montgomery County Sequential Committee Leadership Award. Resolution of recognition of Montgomery County Sequential Central, whatever it is,
Yeah, that's
Committee Leadership Award.
I actually had to learn to say that because we had one of those in
Yeah.
Monroe. It was a sesquicentennial. That's
Sesquil.
I'd never.
Well, I don't know what it is.
Continual.
It looked like it's Greek to me.
It's a big long word. It's hard.
Been.
You all have it, but, so do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion and a couple seconds. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Perkins?
Aye.
Mr. Tuck?
Aye.
Mr. Creed?
Aye, I'd like to know what it is for sure.
Sesquicentennial means 150 years.
Yeah.
So
Maybe it
that's,
would be easier to say 150 years.
Yeah, 150 years.
Anniversary.
Yeah.
Need to
And
use that.
who did this for us? Was it Ms. Ritchie?
No, I think it's Lisa.
this came from Lisa Bleakley and the
Okay.
tourism folks that they were recognized for.
Okay. You,
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Chair Brown?
Aye.
6 ayes.
Now it's time for the county attorney's report.
No report, Mr. Chair.
You sure?
I'm positive.
Okay. County administrator's report.
Well, I got a few things. I can't let it go. The one item that we had listed under the agenda this evening related to the request for the speed limit reduction. Thank you for, no problem. Took care of that under your comments to Mr. Clark, so that's going to be handled. Just, I wanted to thank the board again for allowing me to attend the Senior Executive Institute course last week at UVA. It's one of the most exhausting classes I've ever been to, but it was very, 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 very good, and I really appreciate the opportunity for that, and brought back a lot of good information that I hope over the summer and fall we can start working on some things as we head into another budget year. Hadn't even got out of this fiscal year yet, and I'm already thinking about the next one. But it was a wonderful program. There were 35 folks from all over the United States and Canada, and I was one of 3 from Virginia. So I appreciate you allowing me that opportunity. This week, I will be attending the Virginia Local Government Managers Association Board of Directors meeting on Wednesday, and then our conference on Thursday and Friday, and then hopefully that'll be it for the traveling for a little while. I did want to mention to you that at the last joint county school liaison meeting, the group agreed to cancel the joint meeting that is scheduled for Monday, June 29th. That's the week of the 4th of July, and several people were going to be traveling that week. And we also discussed the fact that we have another joint meeting scheduled for August 31st, which is 2 months from then. And so the thought was that we'll have the joint meeting in August. We won't have the joint meeting in June due to travel. And now that we're having a meeting next Monday night, that gives you that Monday night back, so that works well. And that's all I have.
Okay. Supervisor Tuck.
No report.
Supervisor Creed.
No report.
Supervisor King.
I just got a couple of things. First of all, I'd like to thank all the county employees for all they do for the citizens of Montgomery County. They really work hard, and I do appreciate that. And second of all, I've been doing a little research on something. I talked to the county attorney about it. He told me just to bring it up, and I brought you some information on it. I would like to see us hang the national motto up in here, "In God We Trust." I've talked to the county attorney, as I said, and I brought in several things. The state, Floyd County done it, Giles County done it, and I have a list of every county in Virginia's got it. And I'd like for us to look this over and maybe discuss it at our next meeting, not Monday nights, but our next regular meeting, and maybe bring it up for a vote. If that would be all right with everybody. I just asked you to look it over.
Okay, yeah. You need one, Craig?
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
And save one for Matt, I guess.
Yeah, we'll,
Todd, can I ask, are you thinking about like back on one of these walls or like above the two doors coming in? What are your thoughts?
Well, most of them is behind the supervisors.
Okay. And, all right.
you know, and I'm not, one thing we've talked about, as you're aware, we've had several discussions about the need to make some improvements, modifications to this, and one of the things we had talked about when we did that is getting a county seal back here to show up, and not saying we couldn't do that and this, but that may be
That's
some...
the way Roanoke's is. If you see theirs, they got letters that goes around it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It might be nice to do a seal and have that there as well, but...
That would be good. But I appreciate if y'all would look over this information and let's discuss the next meeting.
Thank you.
Supervisor Biggs.
Well, my only report is that Harding Avenue went to the frog pond the day before school was out and had a really good time. It was very well organized by the county staff, and I just want to compliment the lifeguards in particular for watching 300 kids in there swimming all over the place. I would never want their job. I'm just telling you, those kids were everywhere and really enjoyed themselves. So it looked to me like it was, I know it's going to be well used in the summer, but they really had a good time. Very well organized by county staff.
You going to yield the rest of your time to Ms. Perkins? Ms. Perkins.
All right. Since we still have some of our Roatan people here, I want to remind you that this coming Saturday, the 13th, we have a fish fry down there with the Roatan people. And I do appreciate your invitation to the celebration on July 17th. There's no excuse for you all not coming because I gave every one of you a card that has the dates on it, right?
You did.
Okay.
Yes, you did.
All right, so there you go. And otherwise, I really don't have anything except to, again, say that Ms. Biggs and I will be going on the 15th to Richmond to a special VACO meeting that she's in charge of. So anyway, that's that, and thank you all for everything.
Okay, I guess it leaves it's up to me. Thank you guys, and you've been here long enough, and let's socialize a little bit since we have people here attending our meeting. So we are adjourned.